Welcome back to another video, guys. Today is the day. We're putting the engine back in. I finally got my clutch. It just arrived. I'll show you what it is. Just a regular brute power clutch and what do they call it? Pressure plate, sorry. Basically just got it off Rock Auto. It was the cheapest, decent one they have, I guess you could call it. So that was the last part I was waiting on because I got a pull type instead of a push type. My bad, I mixed up the transmission, so this one's going to work for us. The engine's ready to go in, pretty much. Just going to slap that clutch on and we'll get working at it. So I'm really excited. It's finally warm out. It's 16 to 20 degrees out right now, Celsius. And last time I recorded, it was actually like minus 15 out. So big difference over the week. I was just at work all week, so finally back. And I'm excited to get working on this. This is going to be good because I need this thing. By the way, how ugly are these wheels? Let me know in the comments. I think they're disgusting. I think that this needs a lot more rubber. They're just things I had sitting around. They're a 5x100 bolt pattern, so it's nice. But they are really ugly on this car. So I'm just going to keep it on the factory ones for now. Eventually get some lowering springs or coilovers depending on what I can find out there. And maybe get this thing a little bit lower to the ground, make it look a little bit better. But anyways, for right now, let's make sure the engine's actually going to run. That's actually going to move us down the road before we focus on anything else. So let's get to it. Alright, we got the flywheel on and torqued down. The next part we want to do is put on this beautiful brand new clutch. Alright guys, well the engine is in the car. Basically it's that wiggle game now that you got to play. See the transmission right here and the engine. There's two bolts at the bottom or studs that just go into the bottom of the transmission. So right now I'm jacking up the transmission, allow these to slide in and then drop it in on the engine mounts and then that's in. So one thing I did mess up on is I kind of screwed up with the chain at the beginning. I always do that. I do have this like bar thing that you can like adjust the way it sits, but I never really use it. I should have this time, but whatever. So yeah, you can get a better view on this side here. If we look down in there, you see those little studs right there. That stud's got to go into the transmission, so I'm just going to work at getting that in there right now. I'm pumped. So after about 10 minutes of screwing around, both of the bottom things are in. Or the transmission bolts at the bottom, they're both in now. So basically at this point, it's just slide it back, drop it down to the motor mounts, and engine is connected to the car, or in the car, whatever you're gonna call it. Engine's in, there's no more crane. Realized it won't go in all the way because there's a dowel that's in the transmission side and on the new block side, and I forgot to take that dowel off. So that means I gotta pull the engine up a little bit further this way, pull the dowel out, and then it'll slide on. So I'll just do it quick and then I'll record afterwards. Puppy! Puppy! Say hi, Datsun. Say hi. Alright, well there it is. Pull it out with some vice grips just from the transmission side. Now it should allow me to mate the transmission and the engine, so I just put it back in. Well guys, things are going pretty good so far. AC condenser on, power steering on. I had to actually swap this wire from one side of the thing to the other. Well, one side of this turbo elbow thing to the other. And then the alternator I got on. The one thing I'm having troubles with is I lost the AC belt, and I'm pretty sure it was on here when I took it off. So, and I mean, I've looked everywhere. I've cleaned my garage up completely, so I don't really know where it would have gone. Oh, I'll keep looking for it, but what I might do is, it's getting pretty late. It's already 9:35, so basically at this point in time, the only thing that's left is get the dog bone bolt back on, put the turbo downpipe on, connect that to the rest of the exhaust, and then hook up the fuel lines, which is pretty easy, put the air box on, and the intercooler on, and the car is ready to go. But before any of that, I mean, fill up with oil, of course, and do coolant, throw a battery in it. But that's all really, really quick stuff. Actually, the longest part about getting some of the stuff on is some of these bolts that are basically underneath the intake manifold here. They're kind of tough to get around. Like, you got like this whole air contraption stuff here, and you know, don't mind me, I'm not really Subaru literate, but basically those kind of things got to get on. And they're kind of a bit of a pain, and you know, working over the engine bay like that's not very fun either. So the only thing that I have left is those. I left out 2 bolts on the transmission. Reason being is this this block actually doesn't mate up to that transmission as well as I thought it would. So we'll leave that on the side, and then basically bleed the clutch and clean up the wiring a little bit because it's a bit of a mess. So I might call it a night here quick, but I might continue working, so we'll see how it goes.
The next day.
All right. Day 2 of engine insertion. So basically, last night I got pretty tired. I've been sick all week, so I just kind of went to bed a little early. And this morning I went and picked up a AC belt. I got that on there already, which I'm pretty excited about. I got the other belt on, or tension down pretty decent. The exhaust, I put that on before bed too. Basically, I put on the 2 exhaust bolts at the bottom, and then I just have the downpipe to turbo with bolts left to do, so I'll quickly put those on. Other than that, it's just hook up a couple hoses, and like I said yesterday, put on the intercooler and get the rest of that done. So I'm gonna button it up, guys, and we'll work at it, and hopefully we can get driving this thing. I'm stoked. So I had to tear apart some of the engine again, took off the intercooler. As you saw in the last clip, it was on, now it's off. The alternator is also back off. Basically, this mess of vacuum lines, I can't stand on Subarus. It's so annoying, but basically what happened was, there's mosquitoes out, look at that. What happened was the blow-off valve, I can't find the vacuum line for it, and it's supposed to tee off one of these. So I gotta figure it out, and I'll work at it. Well, I finally got the hose situation figured out. Basically, I was missing this one hose here that goes over to the blow-off valve, so, or recirc valve, whatever you want to call them, but got that sorted. It was actually my front garage for whatever reason. I have no idea how it got there because, you know, out of all the Subaru junk in this garage, I'm surprised it wasn't laying in here. But nonetheless, it's on there, so it's time to put everything back on. Look at that. it's all back together. Hooked up the radiator, just gotta get the hoses put on. Once the hoses are on, we can start filling this thing up with fluids and trying its first run. Well, I guess put the air intake in and obviously a battery, but yeah, it's all back together and it went a lot smoother than I thought it would. Oil it up, baby. Oh, juicy. The last piece of the puzzle is some coolant. And then we can finally start this guy up. I just want to get enough coolant in it so then it doesn't create a lot of bubbles, because that's annoying to get out. The time has come. We're gonna try to start this guy up with its new block. Everything's back together. Gotta bleed the coolant yet, but we'll do that as it's running. We'll see if the car starts first. If it doesn't start, we'll figure out what's going on. If it does start, we'll make sure everything's running to top, make sure the belts are, on, nothing's squealing, anything like that. So, I usually just go through a simple routine. So I'm gonna crack the garage door open. We're gonna try and start it. Wish me luck. I'll see if I can get any power out of it. We're not getting anything, so I'll try again. Check it out, the lights are on. I had another battery laying around that I tried and it seems to work, so we're gonna give this one a shot. And if this one starts it, we're good, so let's give it a go. Okay, so it doesn't want to start. Reason being is it's not cranking at all. I think there's a loose connection somewhere along the lines that's not allowing it to basically turn over. So I'm going to play around with stuff until I can kind of figure that out. Okay, so I think I have an idea. I left this selector. This used to be an automatic car. Put a manual transmission in it, so I think it's got to be in the drive position. So I'm going to work around that and see if it works. Stoked! It's turning over. I got the battery charging up right now. I think it's about halfway charged. I'm going to try and turn this over and we'll see if it's going to start this time. Never mind. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a half an hour break. It's turning over really good now, but there's not much I can do. I gotta let the battery charge up, take about a half an hour break, come back and see if it's gonna fly, because it sounds like it's turning over pretty good, which is a good thing, because that means the motor is, everything's aligned properly, which means I did timing and everything like that right. The heads are seem to be working, so give me half an hour. Alright, well, it turns over really good, but tell me something's wrong. That's oil. That's a lot of oil, and every time I turn over the motor, it just spurts oil out. Luckily, I think it is coming from the turbo oil feed, possibly the turbo oil drain. I can't tell, it's kind of tight in there, so I'm going to pull off the intercooler and take a look at what's going on in here and find out, because it's really hard to tell where it's coming from, but I'm a little disappointed. It's turning over pretty good. This car is just not a happy time. So we'll figure it out. Well, I found the leak, and it's a hard leak to find actually. Basically, it's a common thing. The turbo inlet pipe for the oil feed. Underneath, you can see basically the turbo. It's hard to find, so I'm just going to basically explain it. But the turbo inlet pipe, on that pipe, it's like a little tiny line. It looks like has banjo bolts on it. It basically goes into the turbo at the bottom and the back into the head. That line is leaking really, really bad. It's kind of a pain because you can't really get it with a wrench underneath. So not being able to get it with a wrench, you basically have to pull the turbo off. Pulling the turbo off in an engine is very difficult, especially in Subarus. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Kind of lost on what I kind of want to do right now, but basically I gotta leave it It's still bright out, which is nice. Basically what I'm doing right now is head over to my parents' house. So yeah, I'm headed over to my parents' house. I'm going to go help my brother pull his Subaru Bug-Eye engine, the one that I had first done in one of my first videos. We have to pull that because he broke his clutch fork in half. A lot of traffic and driving and stuff. That's what I'm hoping it is, but basically that's what happened. So I'm gonna go pull that, take the 15 minutes, find out what it is, and then at least then they can go and order that part up because you know, I'll go give him a hand doing it. So I'm just packing up some tools right now, getting everything that I used for doing this Subaru, basically all my power tools, simple kit, and an engine stand, and we'll head over there and I'll get ripping that out. I'm not gonna record anything, and then after that, you know, gonna relax and have my first fire of the season, because as you can tell, it's beautiful out. So yeah, that's the plan. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a good night or day or whatever it may be. See you later.